Healthcare. That's the next company on radar. Reported actually a steady performance. Occupancy growth was largely flat. Margins came under some pressure. International patient revenue, though, rose by close to around 32% on a year-on-year basis. We have Mr. Abhay Soy, the Chairman and Managing Director, who joins us on the show. Hi, Abhay. Good to have you, and thanks a lot for joining in. Well, occupancy as well as ARPOB, both of them were flattish in the past quarter. Tell us what went on and what's the outlook on both these two parameters?
Well, as you know, we've expanded quite sort of dramatically over the last 15 months, and we've added about more than 30% capacity. In the last year alone, we've added two hospitals. One is Dwarka, which was a greenfield project, and which we commissioned in July. And we acquired JP Hospital in Noida. This was in October, November. So this is what I categorize as newer hospitals. So if I see existing hospitals, then you had an increase in EBITDA per bed. You had of about 7%. You had an increase in ARPOB of about 5%. There's been an expansion of margins as well from 25.8 to 26.2. But the two new existing hospitals are operating presently in the first year at about 12.5% EBITDA margins. And, they've sort of, as expected, would drag the overall ARPOB down, at least in the first couple of quarters. And as these ramp up, and that's exactly where the opportunity is, both the margins as well as profitability will expand from here on.
Mr. Soy, so the two new hospitals, Dwarka and Noida, you said margins are 12.5%. As they ramp up, say exit margins for these two hotels, what would it look like by the end of FY26?
Well, by the end of it, it should track at similar levels as the rest of the sort of portfolio that we have, because we only categorize hospitals. We have a fairly aggressive sort of this thing. We categorize only hospitals which are 12 months old as new hospitals. So yeah, by the end of the year, they should be ramping up closer to the rest of the group.
Okay. And international patients growth really picked up for you. Very strong traction seen, up 32% revenue growth from international patients, 9% of your revenues. What led to the pickup and what can you guide here?
Well, we normally don't give a guidance, but if history is anything to go by, I think last few quarters we've been growing at more than 25%. Yes, it's been more than 30% this quarter, but 25 to 30% seems like a decent sort of growth rate that we've been sort of getting in the past, and I don't see any reason for that not to sort of continue.
Abhay, hi, good morning. So as a percentage share, Abhay, you want to leave us with a number? Where do you see it by the end of the year?
Well, it's presently 9% of revenues, and why I stay away from percentage share is because we also dramatically increasing capacity, as you're aware. So, if our capacity goes up is expected to go up by 30% in the next 6 months before the end of the year. And that should actually bring down the total share, because if your capacity is going up by 30%, and let's say if your international business is growing by about 25 to 30%, then it should marginally reduce, go up, or remain the same. But, apples to apples, it would grow otherwise.
Max at Home, which is your home healthcare business, and Max Labs, the diagnostic business. Could you give us an indication of how they're likely to perform in the balance 9 months, and even on margins picking up for Max Lab? I think currently it's about 13%.
Well, we've been investing for growth in these businesses. They've been consistently growing at 20% plus for, I think, many quarters now, and for many years. And I see that sort of keep expanding. I see the margins, of course, grow in the lab business closer to where the peers are. The home care business gives more than 20% margins, so we're quite sort of healthy margins. These are low return or very high return on capital, because there's hardly any capital required. At least for the labs, we use our own labs at the back end, the spare capacity in our labs and so on. So this should ramp up pretty well. But yes, I think, even whilst the rest of the sort of sector, a couple of years back was kind of dipping, but we've soldiered on. We've seen similar sort of revenue growth, which is 20% plus.
So for Max Lab, these are the steady state margins, 13%, assuming the 20% revenue run rate continues?
No, so like I mentioned, this should move up. They should move up to 17%, then 20%, and so on. So I see this going up. There's no reason for it to kind of remain at 30. As we sort of keep investing, so long as you keep building critical mass, and when you invest is a smaller component of what you have on the ground, you're going to see margins grow. Because when you set up new points initially, like I mentioned, margins will suppress, but that's investment for growth.
Is there any inorganic growth, Abhay, that you're looking at?
Well, these are very high value, very sophisticated sort of labs that we run. So you must keep in mind that all of the high-end work we do, all the super specialty work that we do at our hospitals, all our senior clinicians rely on the efficacy and efficiency of our labs. And so you have to find sort of similar sort of quality labs out there for us to sort of do bolt-on acquisitions. That is something we always look forward to. They tend to be far and few, but of course, when the opportunity arises, we're quite open to it.
Just one last question on the international patients, Abhay. Before 2019, not just you, but I mean hospitals, were Chinese patients a big did they make a meaningful number of international patients seeking treatment in India, or not really?
No, never. So actually, I don't think that Chinese patients do come to India. They have a fairly robust government hospital sector, which the public hospitals over there, also parts of them do private work. But most Chinese people go to government hospitals. They have a far bigger reliance over there on government hospitals. So China has never really been a source of patients. Having said that, I think, we are seeing now also influx of patients from developed countries. Earlier you were seeing them from the Middle Eastern cluster, the African cluster, the SAARC countries, the Eastern European cluster, where it was self-pay. It's not necessarily patients which were sponsored by the government or by the insurance in their countries. But now, given the huge waiting lists over there, we are seeing some early signs of patients. And India really, I think, being able to tap its comparative advantage as far as healthcare is concerned.
Abhay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Good luck with the business. Appreciate you joining us here, as always, on CNBC TV18. Thank you.